Okay, joining me now is Ryan J. Reilly, reporter for Talking Points Memo. Mr. Reilly, thank you so much for joining us tonight to make sense of this latest chapter in the theater that is Fast and Furious. Good evening to you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Now, the Oversight Committee pushed back against the piece today. They called the article a fantasy made up almost entirely from the accounts of individuals involved in the reckless tactics that took place in Operation Fast and Furious. In other words, they're saying, don't trust these first-hand accounts from guys who were there. Listen to us right now. Am I right?
That's right, about right, but it's tough to take their word for it given some of the sort of outrageous accusations that Representative Issa has made starting at the beginning of this investigation. He had proclaimed that the Obama administration knew about these tactics being used from the very beginning, that Attorney General Eric Holder had knowledge of these tactics, and just today he finally said that actually he doesn't have a strong suspicion any longer that Holder knew about the tactics, but is very interested in these documents that were sent after the congressional investigation was launched, which essentially would be communications internally within the Justice Department about how to handle this congressional inquiry, but wouldn't actually answer the question of who authorized these tactics to begin with.
So he's saying there's no crime at all, but there's a cover-up, donate money to the NRA. Essentially. I mean, is there no changing Darrell Issa's mind on any of this? I mean, the House Republicans seem to just want blood here no matter what. They've decided what the outcome is before the investigation carries through.
Well, I think, there certainly were allegations that were made that haven't turned out to be true. And I think even Issa would admit that. But, this is really something that's interesting because of the way that the NRA has been pushing this issue and have also asserted that Holder knew about it and are actually scoring the contempt vote, which could lead some Dems to switch their votes over to the Republican side just to keep their 100% perfect NRA record if they are in a certain swing district. So, it's a very political issue at this time, and it's one that will probably be fought out after this initial vote in the courts. I
got to say, I think you really hit the nail on the head, and those 30 to 35 Democrats are going to cross over and vote this way because they depend on an NRA endorsement. Is that correct?
The NRA endorsement, yeah, I think they could be very worried about how that could affect them, in their individual districts. And, there's a potential tomorrow that actually some Democrats are going to walk out on during the vote, actually as Boehner did when he was in the minority a few years back when Democrats were bringing up contempt charges against members of the Bush administration. Right now, the Congressional Black Caucus has signed on to the effort, and other members are expected to as well.
So what is this really about? Is this really about a sinister program designed by Democrats to introduce more guns into a crime-ridden area in the interest of getting less guns in America, as Issa seems to be indicating?
That's the conspiracy that a lot of members have actually signed on to, as the NRA did, and it's really just a really extremely bizarre theory that isn't supported by any of the contemporaneous emails that have been revealed so far. When you see the emails to higher level Justice Department officials, it's very clear that they didn't know about the tactics being used and actually when the first allegations were made from Congress had denied that the allegations were true because they weren't aware of these tactics being used at all. So it's something that's interesting to see how it plays out, and just this sort of irresponsible conspiracy theory is just being tossed around like it's nothing.
Well, yeah, and as someone who subscribes to NRA mailings, I've been seeing for 3 years now a lot of information about how Eric Holder's job is to take my guns away, and it's always followed by donate to the NRA here to keep your guns from being stolen by Eric Holder. And we've been hearing this for so long, despite the fact that the Democratic Party hasn't really made gun control an issue since Diddy was still puffy in the 90s, as far as I can remember. So is that what this is really about? Is this just about a power grab by the NRA?
Well, I mean, the NRA's bottom line is very dependent upon making sure that its members are worried that political officials could take away their gun rights. And certainly here they have a long-standing conflict with the Obama administration. We're calling him Gun Grab Obama before he was elected.
Exactly.
And as far as Holder's actions, he hasn't really done anything. In fact, gun control groups are pretty upset with the administration for failing to do anything, in regards to gun control. Even after Representative Giffords was shot last year, there was no real movement on the effort, and that's something that they've given failing grades to the administration before the Brady campaign to prevent gun violence. So it's really something that it's sort of a bizarre theory that people are subscribing to.
I want to repeat what you just said because I think it's a little bit bit interesting. Gun control organizations are giving failing grades to the Obama administration and Attorney General Holder because they haven't done enough about gun control. Thank you for bringing that up. Now, Democrats are all bringing up, of course, the Bush administration and McCasey, that the entire Project Gun Runner began with Operation Wide Receiver under President Bush. The argument that the conservatives throw back is, sure, but Bush always let the Mexican government know what was going on, and Holder didn't. Is that a fair argument in your opinion?
You know, it's not. Some of the details about this still have to sort of be worked out. What is clear is that Attorney General Mukasey had more knowledge of gun walking tactics than Attorney General Eric Holder did. There was a memo. It was a few days into his administration, right after the controversial resignation of Alberto Gonzales, that he had gotten a briefing on this that said there was a failed transfer of weapons from the U.S. to Mexico, and that the effort had failed. The guns had gone into Mexico, and that they were going to this effort didn't work, but they were going to try this tactic again in the future. So I mean, certainly the knowledge there is certainly far exceeds what Holder knew, and in fact, when the first indications that Holder knew that these tactics were being used, he, within under a month had launched the IG investigation, which I think is really what most neutral observers of this are really expecting to be the most comprehensive evaluation of what actually happened here, rather than ICE's investigation, which it was sort of a lot of allegations and then sort of following that up with see where we can fill in the facts.
So Eric Holder ended a program begun by Republicans that tried to stop violence by throwing more guns at the situation. This is the level of sanity we're dealing with right now. Ryan J. Reilly, reporter for Talking Points Memo, I thank you so much. I so appreciate your insights and expertise on this. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Have a great night.